Hello everyone, this is your Anime Octopus. Today, we dive into an intriguing what-if scenario. What if Sand release gave Naruto a special connection to Shukaku? Part 3. Before we get started, a quick disclaimer, the content on this channel is purely for entertainment and discussion purposes. I do not own any of the anime footage used in my videos, full credit goes to the original creators and copyright holders. Alright, let's jump right in. Naruko slept rather soundly that night. Though it wasn't too surprising, considering her older sister figure had lightly tapped her on the head for teasing her about her favorite dango. That little encounter had sent Naruko into a deep, uninterrupted sleep, even if she woke up the next morning with a little bump on her head. As she slowly stirred awake, she felt the dull ache in her head reminding her that she hadn't gotten as much rest as usual. Ooh. Maybe I should stop teasing her about the dango, Naruko murmured, stifling a yawn as she tiptoed toward the bathroom to take some medicine. She wore her usual pajamas, a cheerful mix of blue with orange and red flames along the edges, and her hair was a bit tousled from sleep. Even in its wild state, she loved her hair. It was something the other girls admired, especially since her energetic fighting style seemed to manage it just fine. While others struggled with long hair during training, Naruko's unique movements kept it under control. She stepped onto the counter to reach the top cabinet where Ji-san kept the medicine. Ugh, still too high, she muttered, remembering how he always placed it there when she and Konohamaru were younger. Even though they no longer needed the extra precaution, habits die hard. With the medicine in hand, Naruko ran the faucet until the water reached the chilly temperature she preferred. Taking the pills, she quietly turned off the light and tiptoed back to her room, where she found Konohamaru sitting by her bed, clutching his father's old scarf. "Konohamaru? Are you all right?" she asked gently. The boy looked up, a hint of sadness in his eyes. "Naruko-ne-chan. Could I sleep by your side for the rest of the night?" Naruko's expression softened. "You dreamed about mom and dad again, didn't you?" He nodded quietly. Sitting down beside him, she put an arm around his shoulders. "I'm sorry you never got the chance to know them. To-san and Ka-san would have been so excited to watch you grow. They wanted the best for you." He managed a small smile. "You tell me that all the time. But it still hurts to think about not knowing them." Naruko hugged him closer. "It's okay, Konohamaru. I'm here for you. You're not alone." After a few moments, they both snuggled back under the covers, soon drifting to sleep. Naruko only had a little more rest before the morning routines began, including academy training. Despite the early start, her day was brimming with potential. Naruko had always been lively and curious, even if her attention sometimes wandered. She might not have been the quickest to grasp some lessons, but her cleverness, determination, and unyielding spirit made her hard to surpass during sparring. While chakra control occasionally challenged her, Ji-san and Ebisu-sensei had provided guidance when needed. Some techniques remained tricky, but overall, she had a strong chance to succeed on her exams. Still, thoughts of her lost parents lingered, especially after Konohamaru had brought back memories from long ago. She stared at her exam paper, only a few answers completed, her mind partly elsewhere. Memories of her childhood and the kind adults who had cared for her weighed gently on her heart. "Naruko," Iruka whispered, appearing beside her desk. "Time for the test is almost up." Startled, Naruko looked at the clock and realized just how little time she had left. I need to focus," she murmured, quickly turning her attention back to the exam. Many students in the classroom were still concentrating on the last few questions and didn't appreciate the interruption, but Naruko was undeterred, trying to finish as much of the test as she could in the remaining minutes. When the timer finally rang, she had barely completed 3/4 of the exam, and she knew several answers were incomplete or incorrect. It wasn't shaping up to be her best day. Iruka sighed quietly as he reviewed her paper, and she offered a sheepish shrug. "Next, we'll move on to the taijutsu portion of the exam," Iruka announced. "For this section, you will form groups of 4 and be tested by alternate instructors on your taijutsu skills while we evaluate your written papers. By the time you return for the ninjutsu portion, we should have the combined scores ready for your final evaluation." He scanned the room, silently hoping each student would perform well. "Good luck," he concluded, as Mizuki guided the students to the academy training grounds for the physical portion of the exam. Here, Naruko's natural energy and agility were an advantage. She was paired with Hinata and 2 other students she usually did well against, even though their names often slipped her mind. They began with basic stances, although Hinata's Hyuga-style movements required separate evaluation. Hinata was hesitant at first, but Naruko offered her reassuring encouragement, helping Hinata perform exceptionally. Naruko herself moved quickly through the forms, perhaps too quickly to maintain perfect precision, but her energy and speed more than compensated during the one-on-one exercises, and she performed admirably against her partner, who had been noted for perfect form. Hinata performed well too, her gentle approach preventing her from fully overpowering her partner, but Naruko cheered her on warmly, which made Hinata blush with happiness at the supportive gesture. One student needed to wait until the next day to complete their ninjutsu test due to fatigue from the sparring session, which drew enthusiastic admiration from their peers. Finally, it was time for the ninjutsu portion. Alright, we've tallied the scores from the written and taijutsu portions, Iruka began. Most of you have a strong chance of passing, though some of you will need to focus carefully during the ninjutsu segment. The final exam is the clone jutsu. Naruko felt her stomach tighten. Clone jutsu had always been her most unpredictable technique. Hinata, noticing her friend's nervousness, placed a comforting hand on her shoulder. Naruko, don't worry. You're a capable shinobi. You'll do just fine, she said. Naruko took a deep breath, attempting to calm her nerves. She knew she had only ever successfully performed this jutsu a few times, and her chakra control was inconsistent. Ji-san had often reminded her that her chakra was abundant, but precision and control were key to mastering any technique. One by one, students performed the jutsu, and Naruko's anxiety grew with each attempt she witnessed. Uzumaki Naruko, it's your turn, called an instructor. Naruko stood, focusing on steadying her breathing and centering her chakra. I can do this. I've done it before, I just need to try now, she thought. Alright, Naruko, good luck, Iruka said encouragingly. She nodded and formed her hands into the required sign, channeling her chakra carefully. Her jutsu began, the chakra flowing tentatively at first. Suddenly, the energy surged unexpectedly. Naruko watched in surprise as the smoke cleared, revealing only a single, fragile-looking clone. She felt a wave of disappointment and fought to keep her composure. Iruka shook his head gently. I'm sorry, Naruko, but this attempt doesn't meet the standard. You did persevere under pressure, and your effort is noted, but we can't mark this as complete. Naruko's usual smile wavered, and a tear escaped as she quietly left the room, needing a moment to herself. Naruko. Wait. Iruka called, but Mizuki gently held him back. Let her have a little time alone. We'll speak with her later. For now, we need to finish the exam, Mizuki explained. Iruka nodded reluctantly, trying not to dwell on the fact that Naruko, the bright, determined student who always carried a cheerful spirit, had run off in distress. Hiruzen jerked upright from his desk, papers scattered before him, a small pang of worry tugging at his heart. Oh no. Naruko. He reached for his crystal ball to check on her, and, as expected, he saw her sitting on a swing near the academy, quietly upset. He sighed, his expression filled with concern. Of all the days for Konohamaru to feel unsettled about his family, why does it have to be today? His eyes drifted to a neatly wrapped box resting on his desk. It was meant to be a small gift, one appropriate for a Jinan. Seeing it now only added to his concern. After a moment, he glanced back at the crystal ball, then stood and walked toward the door. I'll be out for the rest of the day, he informed his secretary as he passed by. She nodded and made a note. He couldn't help but think, I need to see her. I wish there were a way to ease her heartache. Why? Why does it always have to be me? Naruko sat on the swing outside the academy. Though her tears had mostly stopped, the weight of sadness lingered. I disappointed Ji-san, Anko-san, and even Konohamaru. She glanced at the nearby crowd of children and parents celebrating graduations, their laughter and chatter filling the air. Despite the joyful noise, she could still hear the murmurs directed at her, the whispers of misunderstanding and disapproval. She bowed her head. Why does it feel like no one understands me? Just then, Mizuki cleared his throat as he approached her. Huh? Mizuki-sensei? What are you doing here? Naruko asked, looking up. He smiled warmly and nodded. Come, let's talk for a while, he suggested. Naruko nodded in agreement, rising from the swing and following him to a nearby building that had a public rooftop, perfect for a quiet conversation. Moments later, the Hokage walked through the village gates, seeking his adopted granddaughter. But when he looked toward the swing, Naruko was gone. Frowning, he wondered, where did she go? Nearby, some of the villagers whispered once again about Naruko, remarking on her struggles and the Hokage's watchful care. Hiruzen's brow furrowed. Will they ever see her true potential? At that moment, a familiar figure approached, Hinata Hyuga, Naruko's friend. Hiruzen smiled gently. Well, Hinata, I assume you passed your exam? Hinata returned a soft smile and nodded. Naruko didn't, but it doesn't seem fair, she admitted quietly. Hiruzen lowered his gaze, understanding the concern in her voice. Yes, he said softly, she's been carrying a lot on her mind. It was unfortunate timing. Hinata's smile faltered, replaced with a look of gentle concern. She was really upset. I heard she left the room in tears, and her eyes looked swollen when she sat down before Mizuki-sensei guided her away to talk. Hiruzen's expression grew thoughtful. While Mizuki was an accomplished shinobi and teacher, he wondered if the young girl had truly felt supported. Thank you, Hinata. I'll see what I can do to help her, Hiruzen said, smiling and patting her shoulder. But don't let this spoil your day. Naruko is resilient, she'll find her way. Hinata's smile returned, brighter now. You're right, Hokage-sama. Nothing can keep Naruko down. Indeed. Have a wonderful day, Hinata, he said kindly. She nodded and returned to her family. Meanwhile, Hiruzen's thoughts remained on Naruko. Something had clearly unsettled her, and he hoped Mizuki could help guide her through it. Konoha's rooftops were scattered throughout the village, originally designed for strategic purposes but now often serving as scenic overlooks. One of these rooftops became the setting for a quiet conversation between Mizuki and Naruko. Mizuki leaned on the railing, surveying the village below, while Naruko sat nearby, hugging her knees to her chest, a contemplative expression on her face. Why does it feel like I'm the only one struggling? She asked softly. Why didn't I pass? Mizuki let out a gentle sigh. Iruka-sensei isn't against you, Naruko. He only wants to ensure you're prepared and strong. He wants you to succeed safely, not rush into challenges before you're ready. I really want to graduate, she said earnestly. I just had a rough night, and something unexpected happened during my ninjutsu test. Why can't I prove that I'm ready? I know I'm capable, I can handle it. Mizuki turned to face her, a knowing smile on his lips. If graduating is truly important to you, there's a little-known rule that might give you another way forward. Naruko's eyes lit up. She was listening intently, eager to learn more. What do you mean she didn't pass? Anko slammed her hand gently on Sarutobi's desk, frustration evident in her expression. She was ready. I tutored her personally to make sure she could handle the written portion without issue. And her ninjutsu is good enough that it shouldn't stop her from passing. The Hokage sighed, raising his hands in a calming gesture. He had returned to his office to check on Naruto and Mizuki through his crystal ball, but somehow Anko had already heard that her young pupil hadn't passed and had rushed to the Hokage's tower. Anko, I'm sorry, the Hokage said gently. Last night, Konohamaru had a dream about his parents, and you know how Naruko gets when family comes up. Anko's face softened slightly. Well. Still, she's capable. We both know she deserves to pass. Sometimes things just have bad timing, Anko. You and I see this often, you should know better than most. Remember your own experiences with your former sensei, Orochimaru? The Hokage's voice carried a note of caution, a reminder of the past. Well. She began, before the door suddenly burst open. A young Chunin, who had been on guard duty the previous night, ran in, breathless. Hokage. Something unusual has happened. His brow furrowed in concern. What is it? Please, explain, Sarutobi asked. The scroll of forbidden jutsus. It's been taken. Anko gasped, and the Hokage's eyes widened. What? How? By whom? It was Naruko, sir. Meanwhile, in a clearing near an old house, Naruko was practicing diligently with the scroll open before her. She focused all her energy on mastering the first jutsu, the shadow clone technique. Come on. Only one chance at this. If I can't do it, I might never become a shinobi. Focus. She wiped sweat from her brow, determined. Even in her simple training clothes, her determination was clear. The risk was real. Mizuki-sensei had said that failing here could prevent someone from becoming a shinobi, but Naruko's resolve was stronger. I won't give up. I'm going to succeed. Shadow Clone Jutsu. Back in the village, Iruka ran through the streets, trying to locate his student. Where would she go? He muttered to himself, thinking like Naruko. Perhaps beyond the village walls, into the forest. He quickened his pace, eyes scanning every likely hiding place. To his surprise, he spotted a familiar figure alongside him. Anko? What are you doing here? He asked, raising an eyebrow. Much as I dislike admitting it, You know Naruko's thinking even better than I do, she said. I don't understand her plan entirely, but something seems off. I'm going to help her before she gets into trouble, and I can't think of a better person to assist than you. Of course, Iruka said, smiling faintly. Together, they entered the forest, splitting up to cover more ground. Soon, Iruka located Naruko, who was busy concentrating. Ha, got you, he said seriously. Naruko, still grinning as usual, barely noticed. He. Guess you found me, sensei. I've only mastered one jutsu so far, she said. Then her eyes sparkled with excitement. Oh. I'll show you. Then you can see that I've passed. Iruka looked puzzled. Passed? What do you mean, Naruko? She laughed. Mizuki-sensei told me about an old rule. If someone can master a jutsu from this scroll before being found, they can pass the test. And I did it. I mastered the first one. Iruka's surprise was evident. But that rule? I've never seen it in any official guide. Before he could respond, a new voice rang out. Well, I didn't expect company, but we can still resolve this. Naruko looked up to see Mizuki perched in the trees, a confident grin on his face. Mizuki-sensei. What's happening? She called, confused. Oh, Naruko, it's simple, Mizuki replied. You've been a little misled, but no worries. We'll see how this unfolds. Naruko's eyes widened, unsure of his intentions. Iruka quickly moved to stay by her side, protective. Anko appeared instantly, grasping Naruko's arm firmly to keep her safe. What's going on here? Anko asked firmly. I'm here because Naruko needs guidance, Iruka said calmly. She's not the monster everyone claims, and she certainly isn't a threat. I understand her struggles, even if others do not. That's why I watch over her. Mizuki laughed. Ah, a loyal protector. How interesting. Anko's eyes narrowed. You interfered with her exam, she said. Of course. Mizuki replied, amused. Naruko stepped forward, confidence returning. I may have struggled, but I'm not giving up. I'll show everyone I can succeed on my own terms. Iruka-sensei? Why? Naruko asked, her eyes wide with curiosity. Because we are so similar, Iruka replied gently, kneeling to meet her gaze. I remember when the Hokage would assign missions, and my friends would often avoid responsibility. My parents. They were gone when I was young, and I felt completely alone. But just like with you, Hokage-sama watched over me. Even when I got into trouble or tried to get attention with pranks, he was there to guide me back on the right path. Naruko, I don't dislike you, and you are not defined by the fox inside you. The fourth Hokage placed it within you, but you are its caretaker, not the fox itself. You are Uzumaki Naruko. And you are my student. He paused, searching for the right words. Just like Anko-san and Hokage-sama care for you, I care for you as well. As if you were my little sister. He smiled warmly. Did you know I once painted the faces of the cage? Naruko's eyes widened with surprise, and she threw her arms around her sensei, who returned the hug gently with one arm. After a moment, she stepped back, determination shining in her eyes. Rest up, sensei. I may not be a full shinobi yet, but I learned one of the jutsu from the scroll. Now I'm going to show Mizuki that we won't be intimidated. Iruka started to stop her but then smiled. You can do it, he said. He lay back, watching Naruko rise and pick up the shuriken Mizuki had used earlier. I'll stop you. Mizuki called, stepping forward. No, I will, Naruko said firmly, her eyes focused. If you harm my sensei or my friends, I'll make sure you regret it. She tossed the shuriken with precise aim, startling Mizuki. Ha! You can't possibly match me. You're just a child now. Mizuki scoffed. My pleasure. Shadow clone jutsu. Naruko called out. Instantly, the clearing was filled with dozens of her clones, all smiling confidently. Mizuki froze, overwhelmed by the sudden appearance of so many Narukos. Within moments, he realized he had no advantage, and the clones' coordinated movements were impossible to escape. After a few minutes, the clones disappeared, leaving Naruko standing, slightly dusty but beaming with pride. I might have gotten a little carried away, she said, brushing off the dirt. She looked down at her clothes and chuckled. I hope this cleans up easily. Iruka and Anko exchanged amused glances before Iruka waved her over. Come here, Naruko. I have something for you, but you'll need to close your eyes. Huh? What is it? Just come and take it, Anko said, smiling as she bandaged her arm. Naruko laughed and walked over, closing her eyes as instructed. She felt a gentle weight on her head and a soft adjustment, then heard Iruka speak. "Okay, open your eyes." Naruko opened them and touched her forehead, where the small gift rested. Her eyes widened in delight. "Congratulations. You've graduated," she shouted with joy, hugging both Iruka and Anko, who laughed warmly at her excitement. Iruka wrapped an arm around both of them, completing the group hug. "No one else hugged me like this for years. It feels really nice," Naruko whispered, smiling. Anko placed her arm around Iruka, joining the embrace. "Hey. She's not as intimidating as everyone says. In fact, she might actually be kind of adorable." Dear YouTube family, this is all for now. Please like, share, and subscribe to my channel. Your support means the world and keeps the creativity flowing. Thank you. Regards. Anime Octopus.